Hey guys, OGalbina here, bringing you guys another Draft League Twitter discussion. Today, I have a pretty fun idea that I'm pretty excited to share with you guys. We're going to have a pretty cool video where I'm going to be giving you 40 $40 to build a 8 Pokemon Draft League team out of the Pokemon I have listed right down here with their different allocations and point values. What are you picking? You can pick any combination of Pokemon. You can have 3 8-pointers, 7 of them, as long as it works out to where you have 8 Pokemon and 40 or less points. I thought it'd be pretty fun. I have, again, top tier metagame threats at the top. As we descend and work down, it's going to be, getting lesser and lesser and lesser. I tried to be pretty diverse in getting lots of typing so that lots of roles could be filled, and I was excited to see what you guys would do and what the general approach of everybody would be. I'm also going to drop this tier list maker in the description below as well. Just in case you guys want to see the Pokemon and, build your own tier list or something like that. And let me know in the comments which Pokemon you would be. And while you're down there, go ahead and drop a sub. We're on our way to 2K subs, and I'd really appreciate a ton if you help me out along that goal. We're getting pretty close. We are climbing up the ranks, and I really, really want to hit that soon. So if you can help me out, I would appreciate it a ton. And yeah, one last little plug. Our next, big discussion type video is actually a really, really cool one. I wanted to kind of see what the best Pokemon in Paldea Dex draft are right now via the community's general census. So I actually have been passing this around Discord and things like that. It is a poll here on Google Forums. I'm going to link this in the description. I have 31 responses right now. I want to get at least 50, honestly, before I really do a video on this. So if you could really help me out, go down to the description and vote on what you think the best Pokemon in Paldea Dex draft are right now in order. I'd appreciate it. I'm going to do a follow-up video after this as the pre-home meta ends and we get some more Pokemon in the decks and things like that just to see what the general consensus is. So if you can help me out that in the description below, I'll really appreciate it a ton. And yeah, let's jump into these teams now. Oh yeah, and big shout out to Liv for making the tier list and helping me set this all up. She's the GOAT. She helped me out when I was at work one day when I was setting this up. Alrighty, so first up, we have Hawaiian Shaman, aka Chris here, with Dragapult, Chien-Pao, Valiant, Iron Treads, Rotom Wash, Serena, Komala, and Spidops. A very, very top-heavy team, and you're going to see that's a big trend I've noticed, that people have kind of decided if there's no restrictions, I'm going to go top heavy. And obviously this isn't in a draft league setting in the sense that you have other people picking. You get anything you want from these Pokemon in here. So you can kind of mix and match. And obviously you're probably not going to get Dragapult, Chien-Pao, Iron Valiant, Iron Treads in a real draft league. But it's pretty cool to see what a team like that could look like right now. And obviously the offensive synergy is crazy. Dragapult plus Chien-Pao plus Iron Valiant would be quite literally impossible to deal with, so that definitely makes sense. Iron Treads is going to roll compress great on a build like this. It's going to give you a ground type, it's going to give you a steel type, it's going to give you removal, it's going to give you rocks and things like that. Rotom Wash is going to form great Volt Turn combinations with Dragapult and things like that, as well as Serena giving you more Rapid Spin, giving you a ground resist outside of the Rotom and things like that, which is definitely great. I will say offensive dragons look a little bit scary defensively for this team. You do have great means offensively of revenging them, and Chien-Pao Valiant. I guess you have Treads too, but typically special attacking dragons have a lot of coverage, so I think that could be a little bit scary. And Rotom Wash's gen in general is not half as resilient as it was before, and a Pokemon even just on this list that looks pretty incredible versus a build like this would be an Iron Moth would go crazy into a team like this, because Rotom Wash doesn't have recovery anymore, doesn't appreciate taking energy balls, and nothing else on this team can switch into big what do you call it here, between D-Gleam, Energy Ball, and Fiery Dance or Sludge Wave or whatever you want to run. That Pokemon's gonna go crazy, so that could be a potential threat. But other than that, the team's pretty well structured, obviously, just with having broken Pokemon there at the top. Razorclaw just wants a Beartic, because Beartic's broken, I guess. Next up, another pretty top-heavy team. Not as top-heavy as the one previously, though, which I think is pretty fun to see. Oop, didn't mean to click on that guy. We have Fran here saying Iron Valiant, Garchomp, Goldango, Iron Moth, Slowking, Dunsparce, Quillfish, and Belly Bolt. There's a lot of really cool picks on this team, right? Iron Valiant Garchomp is an attainable core. It'd be very hard to get, in my opinion, but it's definitely something that could happen. I mean, we've seen crazier in Draft League. I definitely think Goldango is an amazing Pokemon, especially alongside Garchomp. Whereas Garchomp like kind of serves that hazard stacking role a little bit more so this gen, opposed to like that Swords Dance Scale Shot Sweeper it was in Generation 8. It's much better at setting up spikes and rocks and forcing switches and being offensive. Maybe you run Scarf, maybe you run Swords Dance. But realistically, you could even run Swords Dance plus Spikes, as it did that with Stealth Rocks in generations prior. So I think that plus Goldango is great. And Iron Moth, great pairing with the top two, right? Incredible pairing, in fact. So I'm definitely really here for that. Slowking is going to be a great slow pivot out into big threats like Valiant Chomp, Goldango, and Iron Moth. Chilly Receptioning out. It's also a great Ice Resist, which is good on a team to take a little bit of pressure off of Iron Moth and Goldango. The Dunsparce is one of my favorite Pokemon this generation so far. Like, one of my absolute favorite. It's new Licky Licky. If you haven't watched our BBR Week 1, please go check it out. But I love the Dunsparce. I think it is an incredibly slept on threat. Quillfish is an amazing spiker as well. It gives them a grounded poison. I was going to say it's a bit tough with your bulky water, but it's not. It's really not. So that can be solid. And then Belly Bolt, it helps them break waters, which I do agree this team kind of struggles with. And in general, if Belly Bolts are way breaking waters, like in a traditional sense, like being a stab typing that deals with them, it can be pretty tough. Just because Belly Bolt is the best Pokemon in the world, as much as I like him and he's a cute guy. I think that could be a big point of contention with this team, but also you have things that force Ship on waters so heavily, and things like Garchomp and Iron Moth are going to force some waters naturally, and you're going to be able to get damage on them for everything. So I definitely think this is a pretty cool squad. Next up, we have Celeste, I think is how you say their name, but we have Iron Valiant, Chi-Yu, Goldango, Slowking, Sylveon, Great Serena, and Komalo. Lots of Komalo love today, holy. But we're going to see a pretty nasty top core again. 3 top offensive Pokemon in Iron Valiant, Chi-Yu, Goldango. Kind of talked about these guys already. I think with Chi-Yu, I think that Pokemon is really slept on the draft scene right now. I know it's a monster in Smogon, but I think people haven't really like gotten the full force of how good that thing can be in this generation of draft. I think it's so ridiculously strong, especially if you can tear it. Tearing into fire or dark, it's just a nuke. Like, it's an absolute nuke. We already talked about Slowking and Sylveon, so there's a great little balance core here as well. Like, Goldango is surprisingly bulky and has an incredible defensive typing that pairs really well with Slowking and Sylveon, which is awesome. Great Tusk also appreciates those wishes. Komala is really there as like a ghost resist, which makes sense, but I don't know how well it checks ghosts, if that makes any sense. Serena also gives a ground resist, which is really important on a team like this, in my opinion. It really struggles with offensive grounds. I think my one gripe with this team is that it doesn't have spikes on it. I think if it had spikes on it, if Great Tusk got spiked for some reason, oh man, that would be crazy. Even crazier. I think if spikes were on this team, it would be incredible. I really think mons like Iron Valiant and Chi-Yu really love those spikes, and then Goldango to deter any kind of, you know, hazard removal shenanigans. It can get pretty nasty to deal with Pokemon like this at the top. You're either forcing ridiculous amounts of boots, or you're forcing ridiculous amounts of chip, which is good either way, obviously. We have Greg here saying, give me Chien Pao, Rotom Wash, and 6 Abomasnow. I don't need anything else. So true. I mean, I don't know how you'd beat the 6 Abomasnow, much less the Chien Pao, Rotom Wash at the top, man. We are seeing an Iron Valiant and Chien Pao trend, though. We have Pokefan4125 Kenny here saying, Iron Valiant, Chien Pao, Garchomp. I'm pretty sure we saw that core before, didn't we? Iron Valiant, Chien Pao, Garchomp. Nope, we saw Dragapult. So a little bit different, which is pretty cool, and I like this a lot. Corviknight, Skeletor's, Rotom Wash is a very nice balanced core with Ground Resist, Leafeon, and another Komala. I don't know why so many people are big. Okay, I think Komala's a cute little guy. I think he had some fun. Oh, I don't have it on the screen. I think he has some fun niches and some fun things he could do, but they took away his Last Resort set, which not that that's the best set or you have to run that every week, but it takes away a little bit of the unpredictability and prep that you're forcing. It's a Komala, guys. But people really love Komala in this. Maybe I'm sleeping, maybe I need to try it out. I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping, but definitely interesting. I do like this like top end offense with hazards, and Chien Pao Valiant Chomp would just be absolutely brazy to use in a draft league setting. But then we have Pokemon like Corviknight, Skeletor's, Rotom Wash, Leafeon are really cool. I think depending on what the Terra rules are, obviously ones like Iron Valiant and Chien Pao are incredible with Terra, right? But say you get 2 captains and you can't do 2 top tiers, or it's points or whatever it might be. Skeletor's is obviously a great Terra captain. Rotom Wash could even be a really cool one as well, turning pure electric and having no weaknesses. Like, there's a lot of pretty cool things you could do here. All right, next up, I'm just gonna say NFQ because I don't know how to say the actual Twitter handle here. They're going Chien-Pao, Garchomp, Goldango, Volcarona, which is an interesting one. I really like that with Chien-Pao, Garchomp, Goldango. I think that's a nasty pick there. Rotom-Wash, Garganacl is a good defensive core. Then we have Passimian, which does serve as a good Scarfer on this team, which I do agree this team kind of struggles Scarfer-wise. And there's a couple of these teams that really struggle with having good Scarfers. Like this team in particular, I don't think has great Scarfers in the sense that none of them grab momentum. I think Tusk can function in a Scarf role, but not particularly great. Same thing with this one, I guess. Well, Moth can function with a Scarf, I think. Iron Touch here. But regardless, Passimian's pretty cool, and it's also a, what do you call it? It's a hazard deterrent, which is pretty cool, with your Garchomp. Again, I get you have Goldango, but you can also bait Defogs and then just smash through with a +2 Passimian, which is pretty cool. Spidox is also going to set up webs, and I think webs with Chien-Pao, Garchomp, Goldango is nasty. Webs Goldango actually sounds really cool. Now, while I'm not a big Spidox fan, I think it's pretty bad. It's niche as like a sticky web setter in this pre-home meta definitely makes sense. So I could see this working out pretty well. I like this team a lot, actually. I like the Scarf options. I like the versatility that it offers. A lot of different members can do a lot of different things. It's pretty cool. Okay, next up we have Lars here, and I remember seeing this one because he did 9 months. So imagine, I think we're supposed to imagine that Electrode is gone. Yeah, so there's no Electrode. Pretend he's not there. So we have, I'm just going to do it like this. We have, you can't really see, huh? It's going to be Iron Valiant, Slowking. I'm going to move it just for a little bit. We'll move it back. Don't worry. We'll fix the crop. We have Iron Valiant, Dragapult, Slowking, Talonflame, Fortress, which is interesting. We got little hazards here. Then we have Toedscruel, Beartick, Dunsparce, and Skuntank. It's a pretty interesting team. I'm not the biggest Fortress guy, but I think it's a lot better this generation, or at least in this current metagame right now. So I can get behind it a little bit. Toedscruel is an interesting pick. I'm not super well versed on it, but it does give him a ground, which is very important, and Spore and things like that. And then Beartick's an interesting pick as well. I think if, again, you get like a top-end Terramon and then a lower-end one, like Beartick's a pretty cool option as a Terramon. I think Terra Water is a really interesting idea. You can go Terra Ice, you can go like a coverage move or like coverage option like Ground or Fighting as well. It hits steals and other ice resist and things like that, and really do some work. So I think Beartick's an interesting pick. I like Skuntank. I think Dunsparce is also slept on this gen just because of that Eviolite and being so darn bulky. So definitely a pretty cool mod. Okay. Let's go ahead and get back in here. There we go. Next up, we have Kurt saying Pult Chien Valiant Moon, which equals out to $32 just in that top 4, which, yeah, that's a crazy top end. Like, and I think it gets to a point where, like, you don't even need to really work on synergy if you have Pokemon like this in draft. And that's kind of the reason why draft is such a cool metagame, because you have to kind of pick and choose your roles and things like that. You can't just draft everything or anything that you want. But if you do are put in a position where, like, you don't, you know, you don't need to manage resources and you can have whatever you want, you can just start stacking broken mons, and other teams would not be able to handle that, regardless of defensive and offensive synergy. I think that Azu is a great pickup on this, despite him having Valiant. One, it gives him a bulky water and roll compressors in that sense, but also, two, it's a fairy that takes on dragons, and I think Azu is very anti-meta this generation. I've talked about it so many times, but it checks or soft checks like the entirety of the top end of the draft board right now, and I think that's really awesome. Camel, again, another roll compressing mon, is good against top tier electrics too, that this team super struggles with right now, so I really like Camel. Kamala is again, here, and Electrode is a really cool mon. I think I drafted in BBR, again, for like a 1-2 point mon. It's very, very, very nice. Very fast, flying resist, can volt switch around, set up screens, and again, as a low tier Terramon, pretty cool. So, yeah, definitely some interesting stuff here. And we're seeing top heavy is the way to go, and Komala is the way to go. Next up, though, we have Casper here with Iron Valiant, Palafin, our first Palafin, Broken Uber Pokemon. Iron Valiant, Palafin, Goldango, Garganacl, Iron Moth, Serena, Cryogonal, and Donphan. Very, very well balanced team. I think, again, I wish that there were some spikes on this squad, but other than that, it's pretty darn strong. Again, I think if you're drafting Goldango, you need to use some spikes. I think Palafin's a really interesting pick as well, because this team really, just kind of shut down Palafin answers and things like that, which is awesome. I think Iron Moth plus Palafin is particularly pretty cool, and I think Palafin's another mon that's, like, pretty darn good in draft. I was originally kind of a hater, and it's like, oh man, it's kind of telegraphable and like easy to tell what you're gonna do, and you know if it hasn't switched in yet, it's not a threat yet, things like that. But then I've been seeing people use it, and I think especially with Terra, I think this mon is an absolute monster. Whether it be pure physical like band or scarf, whether it be bulk up variants, or whether it be mixed or special attacking variants, it has like 110 something special attack and a great move pool on that side too, and as well as a great physical move pool, obviously, in flip turn and all that stuff. So like, it's an incredible Pokemon, and I'm definitely glad that someone at least picked it up. Okay, next up we have Liv here with a pretty interesting squad. Let's see. So she's rocking out with only one 8-point mon, or $8 mon in Iron Valiant. Then we have Garchomp Chiyu, which is nasty, alongside the Goldango, getting up those, being able to deter those hazards, giving you a fairy resist, which your team just lost to at this point. Then we have 4-point bulk in Dondozo, Sylveon, your Fizz Wall, your Spidef Wall, and your Wish Passer. Then we have a good Scarfer in Flamigo, double fighting, but really not that big of a deal. Also gives you a ground immunity. And then we have Spidops at the bottom, which you guys can't see, which is definitely, I think it's definitely a pretty cool squad. Again, it really struggles with offensive grounds. Being Flamigo is your immunity, and Spidops is your resist, so you don't really have a ground resist. But other than that, like, offensively, this team's nasty, and outside of offensive grounds, I think this team actually covers most bases between Goldango, Dondozo, and Sylveon, and then the rest of the offense can just go buck wild, which is, again, good. And again, offense is by far the best play style this generation, so going hard into it just makes sense, you know? Why play balance when you can play HO and smash through people? Josh saying Amel's about to go undefeated with $30 in his pocket is pretty damn funny. Then we have Tone here next saying Iron Valiant, Volcarona, Hydreigon, Corviknight, Slowking, Donphan, Garganacl, and Bellibolt. He said also I Slowking only type on a second type. Where the hell's the obligatory Gardevoir? I always that's my bad. That's my bad. There's definitely some types I was pretty low on, pretty stingy with, unfortunately. I didn't even realize it. But this seems a lot more balanced. It seems like this actually seems like an attainable team in a draft league setting. Like, I could see someone drafting it, and it's definitely very solid. Again, outside of Corvi, struggles with grounds, but I'm also a guy who's terrified of every offensive ground of all time. So I guess that might be a me thing. But in general, very solid squad. You have Corvi plus Slowking as a great bulky core, and then Donphan is great as well. Donphan and Garganacl being able to rock up, as well as Hydreigon. Again, I love me some spikes. So I kind of wish that was there. But again, not the biggest deal in the world. This is a pretty cool team, and I like this one because it's obtainable in a draft league setting. So it's cool to see, like, you know, what you could get if you start off with, like, an Iron Valiant Volcarona or Iron Valiant Hydreigon or something like that. So, pretty cool stuff. Okay, next up we have Marcelo here saying Dragapult, Chiyu, Palafin, Great Tusk, Corviknight, and then we have a little bit cheaper in bulk and Fido, Serena, and Jolteon. Pretty cool stuff. We talked about pretty much all of these mons so far. Corviknight's a great defogger as well as a great pivot and steel type. His team does struggle with ice in general. Like, offensive ice types can really put in some work, as the bulky water is Chiyu, the steel type is Corviknight. So that can get out of hand kind of fast, in my opinion. So defensively, it kind of is a bit lacking, especially with the bulk at the bottom being basically Fido, Serena on top of that Corviknight. And Fido's not the best Wish Passer to keep things like Great Tusk healthy with its HP stat that's about half of Great Tusk. You're basically getting back a Citrus Berry when you pass a Wish into Great Tusk with Fido. But it's cool. It's also a Fire Immunity, which is something this team really likes. And then Serena, solid Rapid Spinner, I suppose, and grabs momentum. Oh, I guess that is a Ground Resist, huh? Kinda. And then we have Jolteon, who I'm not a big fan of. I think if you Terra Jolteon, it's usable as Gen, like Terra Ice. But, like, other than that, Jolteon is not my favorite Pokemon. I think I've definitely made that clear before, though. It is definitely mediocre for me. Alright, Iger here is next, saying Chien-Pao, Dragonite. Ooh, first D-Knight. Iron Moth, Goldango, Azumarill, Serena, Dunsparce, and Electrode. Again, give me some spikes with your Goldangos, ladies and gentlemen. I need to see spikes with Goldango. I need to. However, other than that, team is pretty darn cool. I love me some Dragonite this generation. I think it is probably a top 3 Terramon if you're doing Terra Captains, especially if you're doing free Terra. Not only can you Terra Normal and Terra Steel and Terra Fire and things like that for like DD or Choice Band sets, I think like special variants are great in Draft League, and I think it'd be really cool as well. So, yeah. Next up, we have Marshy here saying Roaring Moon, Chi-Yu, which is, again, a demonic offensive core alongside Great Tusk, Ironmoth, Goldango. And we have Rotom-Wash, Go-Go, and Wigglytuff. Draft spikes with Goldango. Everybody, please, you're being given spikers. But other than that, again, the team looks really cool. I like the Double Dark offensive core of Roaring Moon, Chi-Yu. And then on top of that, having Goldango that bullies every fairy ever, as well as Ironmoth. So, like, really, really solid squad offensively. Next up, we have Terrence here saying Valiant, Chomp, Goldango, Ting Lu, which is the first Ting Lu we've seen, and I'm so glad we're seeing it. Garganacl, Appleton, and Flapple and Flame. Oh my god, Owen. Talon Flame. I love me some Ting Lu. What a good spiker. It is interesting to see it with Chomp, but it also frees up Chomp to be a little bit more offensive on a team like this. I like the Slowking pick because this team is pretty darn weak to Ice otherwise. And take some pressure off of Goldango defensively to switch into moves like that. So I definitely like that. This team does get raw 6-0 body bagged by Chen Pao. But other than that, it's a pretty cool squad. Again, we draft, not only did he draft spikes for other people, because he got 2 spikers. And he saw all the other people not putting spikes on their Goldango teams. Okay. Then we just have 2 more. And Sceptile Scyther, Sceptile Blade here says, bro just snuck in what Draft League is to make a video. I mean, basically. He said he would go Polt, Chi-Yu, Tusk, Azu, Corvi, Salt, Flamigo, Jolteon. And Salt is his fairy. So that's kind of saying that he's going to Terra Fairy his Garganacl, which makes sense. I do think that, like, Polt is... So it depends on, like, the league's, like, Terra rules, right? So if it's, like, 1 Terramon per... It's kind of tough, but like I don't think you need to do that. Again, I think Azu defensively is so good. I think people like kind of in their head they're like, I gotta bring Band or Belly Drum or whatever. I think AV and Rest Talk are amazing this gen. I love defensive Azu this gen, and I really think people need to jump on the train because then you can Terra your Polt like I have in APA Classic. I actually have Terra Ghost Polt, and I also have an Azu on the team. And I also have a Great Tusk on the team, which is pretty cool. I don't have a Chi-Yu. I would love a Chi-Yu, but Polt, Chi-Yu, Great Tusk also sounds like an unbeatable offensive core. So, like, have fun with that, guys. Okay. Then, lastly, we have Irish Penguin here saying Iron Valiant, Garchomp, Skeledirge, Douchebun, which is our second Douchebun. Then we have Leafeon, Chen Pao, Rotom-Wash, and Fortress. He said this team really struggles with Polt or Flutter Mane if not banned. I assume Terra was allowed, but if not, I'd probably change things. Yeah, so I think it's definitely pretty cool. It does really struggle with Dragapult. Like, the Dragapult matchup is a 6-0. I'm running Choice Specs. You don't have to worry about, like, physical Polt, but Choice Specs Polt does just, like, raw 6-0 body bag, 1-tap every Pokemon. Other than that, though, the team is pretty cool. Valiant, Chomp, Chen Pao. We've seen that core already so far before. On top of that, we have a good Spinner and Fortress, as a good ice-resistant Fortress plus Rotom-Wash. Douchebun, giving you your fairy to check other offensive dragons that aren't named Dragapult. It's a pretty cool team. It does struggle with a couple top tier meta threats, but it's still pretty darn cool. And yeah, that's gonna be the video. Let me know if you guys enjoyed. I thought this was a pretty cool idea. Let me know if you guys want to see another one with different Pokemon, just to see what people end up coming up with. And please go vote in our best Draft League Pokemon Paldea poll. It'll be the first link in the description. I really, really want you to check it out so that you can, you know, be a part of the next video. Again, we got 31 responses right now. I really, really want to get to at least 45, but 50 is preferable. And if you could help me out and get there today, I know there's enough for you to do so. So I appreciate it. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for watching.